All right, so back to this. Just a kind of a quick little video I wanted to make. Um, I made a shorter black screen where I may or may not release it. I don't actually know if I'm going to. Where again, basically putting YIIK on hiatus for now until again I get back. Granted, that's in like about a week, maybe even slightly. So nothing super big, super serious, right? The big thing I wanted to make this video is again kind of the really the main topic or so. Again, let's go back, take a step back. YIIK, right? Played the game because I knew it was shit on in relation to Amori, right? You know, that's why I played it, right? But again, I played it in mid 2013, which played through it. It was like 1.4, I think. I don't even know. I'm just gonna say pre 1.5. Played it, and then, but even at that point, they were talking about the release of 1.5 as if it was like, I think it was originally supposed to be that same year, and then obviously got delayed till like literally like 2020. You know, literally this like the end of 2024. So again, there's that, right? And it was always a question of, I played through it originally, beat it, right? Got the endings. And then it was like, all right, I'm just going to wait till 1.5 comes out and replay through it because apparently it's this big thing that's revolutionizing it, right? Which it did. It came out in December and started playing it, right? Again, and that's obviously the context and reason why, I started this playthrough, right? And more specifically, playing it in relation to the pre-1.5, right? And seeing all the differences there. Because, I didn't really have any context going into for what it would be different. So it was just pure me blind going in and seeing what's different, right? And again, now we're about, I'd say, halfway, maybe slightly more through the game. We've reached the point of, again, we got to the essential part, right? Which is a good stopping point. But again, it gets to the point to where it's like, we made a good way through. And I feel like we've seen quite a lot, if not most, of the differences by now, right? Again, maybe the ending, but again, it's like, we'll see, right? And really the big thing is, honestly, I don't really think, because the general, and so here's what I'll say, broad, general aspect. It seems like the overall story hasn't changed. It's still the same overall story plot, right? The one kind of, I'd say, major difference is you have an Essentia build-up substituted for the Allison subplot. We have no idea where that's going as of now. Again, average YIIK, try not to be coherent challenge. And it doesn't seem like it's going to get resolved anytime soon. My guess is it's just not going to be connected to the main story in any way. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past the creators of YIIK to do that. And so it's like, all right, just whatever, right? So that's, I'd say, the major, story change, right? There haven't really been that many other, story changes, though, right? Again, there really haven't been that much. The one thing I will say is it seems like we've been not traversing the map as much. Granted, as for that doesn't really fit into the story, right? But it's something where it seems like it's a lot more again, I have no way to base this off, but it's like the story really hasn't changed. Really, again, the big update and change, which isn't the story, is the battle system, right? Again, obviously the old battle system was more I think a good way to put it is the Mario Luigi, series, right? I think that's a really good way to put it, actually. But this is, again, a lot more, fleshed out with the Carta system and stuff like that, right? And, but besides, the battle system, it's also, the animation, stuff like that. So overall, seeing, aesthetics, we saw even the, at the very beginning where you're going through the factory assembly pack, looks very different, right? Overall, I'd say, again, a lot more detailed, right? But, again, that kind of runs in the issue, and where we come up into the question is YIIK 1.5 actually better, right? And, again, because, and the reason why I say this, and my kind of issue is, okay, one, yeah, and this is what I've been saying the whole time. Yeah, it's cool that the battle system has changed, But one, there was no real issue with the old one. The battle system wasn't the major issue with YIIK, right? And then, so there's that. And then two, I don't know if they realize this or inadvertently, cause this, right? But by removing the dodge feature, right, by removing the dodge feature, or at least the ability to reduce Carta replaces it, right? But it's not the same. Like, I don't think they realize how they fundamentally changed the game, right? And it's something that does get annoying when you're I think a good example is because you spend $1,000 on the Vine. In the previous playthrough, I had no issue, but I definitely did not have the money in 1.5 because I had to constantly spend it on auto heals because of fighting NPCs and them just ripping us to shreds. And because we can't dodge, our Carter soaks up some hits, but obviously it can only do so much. So, again, and then even shit with the story, right? So it's cool that we're getting this whole Allison storyline, right? But, I really... I hate to say it, I don't see it intersecting with... I will say we did get, again, Alex's mention of Allison, right? Going to the university, right? But it's because I think that was even a thing in the original. Because, again, but obviously we didn't get this whole, subplot involved. So we knew Alex had a sister, right? But it wasn't, really a thing. It's more of a thing now because you have this whole subplot, right? That it gets brought up, but it's, it's still, unless, let's say, the Allisons... Because my guess is that it's not going to get... it's not going to intersect with the real world and what's going on, right? It's just going to be its whole separate thing, and it's going to be interpret shit, right? Which, again, is all right, if you just want complete incoherent nonsense. Again, it's cool that we're getting this new whole subplot and story, but if it's not going to cross with the main story and or make sense and not be completely incoherent, then there's no, reason. So, again, the overall issue, right, is that, YIIK 1.5 made changes. Stuff's more detailed and whatnot. There's more to it. But does that actually make the game better? I hate to say it. Also, the Mind Dungeon was changed, by the way, right? But again, I hate to say it. I don't think the game's... I don't think 1.5 is better than pre-1.5. And I think it's and it goes entirely into the reason why fucking YIIK is a dog shit game and why it's bad. Is because it's that it's completely misaligned, in their focus, right? Again, it's just a completely incoherent story. That's literally the issue with the game. It's just completely incoherent. There's no... the story is just nonsense, right? I don't know if they realize... there was no issue with the original battle system. Honestly, in the way they go about, it as an RPG as a whole isn't bad either, It's just the story and the writing that's absolute dog shit, right? And so the things that they supposedly fixed and or solved weren't actual, issues, right? And it's just granted, I really don't know what I expected, but it's something to where it's it's just not better. It's I really, I do think pre-YIIK 1.5. Granted, I don't think, because, again, even the version I played wasn't the original version. There was, differences with the original version and the version that I played, right? But it's I still think the version that I played initially, which I think is 1.4, I think that's still better than 1.5. I just think, which sucks, because 1.5 was built up to be this, massive thing. It was literally, basically supposed to be an entire new game, right? Which I guess the dark game or whatever, right? But it's again, it's just it doesn't mean anything, right? And it is just annoying because it's I've said this. If YIIK focused on the whole semi-poc thing, if it was a murder mystery, actual detective story, and didn't get into the whole metaphysical bullshit, it could have been a good game. Actually tell an interesting fucking story. About girl goes missing, right? Whatever reason, and then this kind of it falls through the cracks, flies under the radar. And this kid from college, just like is a kind of a failure in life, finds his purpose, trying to actually like work on this, gets like a team, and they like, ragtag figure it out. Like, it'd be pretty like generic, but it'd certainly be rarer than what we got, right? And then maybe it's something to where like, oh, there's a twist or whatever, right? But again, it's something to where like if they would have kept it grounded, honestly, I think they could have even done like, a more like interesting, story, whatever nonsense, right? But like as soon as they kind of got to the point of like the metaphysical bullshit, it's like, all right, dude, this game is like again, the game just becomes completely incoherent, like, and it's like just like, all right, dude, like, I think the prime example, I still think the best example was when Michael just became Proto-Michael literally out of nowhere for zero reason, and it was just never explained. Like, I think that's literally probably the best example of that, where it's a thing that happens, and it's like, all right, I mean, cool. Like, I think that's like, the prime, like a prime example of that, because it's like, that's just, goes to show it's like, all right, well, I guess, like, they just random shit happens, and it's like, were we supposed to accept it? And it's like, all right, like, but again, this is a video I want to make. Again, I'm going to continue playing it till the end, right? Because I do want to potentially see if the Allison storyline is going to cross with the real. I don't think it is. I think it's just going to be some bullshit like, oh, left up to interpretation. But again, it's like, we'll see. And I think it's something to where it's like, yeah, I mean, but I'm still going to finish it out, right? Wrap it up just because it's like I'm not going to quit, right? But it's like, just kind of, it's disappointing because this is a game I want to see succeed. And again, because I think, granted, funny enough, I guess, because I made the comparison, I think, in the most recent part to YIIK, right? Which is a critically famed or astounded, game that, again, I feel like, again, me personally, because, again, probably unpopular, I feel it suffers a similar issue where it's like, I mean, it doesn't really have a story, and it's like, I mean, cool, you can go walk around and see things, right? But it's like there's no story, and it's like, I mean, there's no like objective or end goal. It's like just whatever incoherent bullshit you just like wander and come across. Again, it's like, like I feel like YIIK is to that same effect, right? But obviously YIIK, YIIK, I feel like that was the start of the downfall of indie games, right? Where it just is some just random, at least Earthbound like RPG types. Well, not even because that's more of like the Omori type games, but just when it comes to like these fad like in like suited, I wouldn't even call it a game, right? Really, just like what's the term for it? Not emulator, but I'd say like simulator, right? Like But again, it's besides the point, right? Because I mean that one's obviously a well-loved game, but YIIK isn't, But I feel like YIIK's the main reason it's not is because of the story, right? And the story itself, I don't even have an issue with, right? It's just the whole metaphysical bullshit where it's just like, all right, dude, like you're just doing some nonsense, like at this point, like, because let's say somehow Vela did actually come from a different reality, and then they rolled with that story, and she kind of, when you start again, it's just yeah. But again, I just want to make this video, right? Because it's like, it's a game I want to see succeed. It's a game, but it just doesn't. And it's like, it's literally just because, like, I genuinely, it's one of those things that's like, let's go back to the latest DLC mod I played, Our Castle Walls, right? Like, I wish I could have gotten into the heads of the mod makers when they came up with that ending and what their thought process was. It's a similar thing with YIIK, like, but, I'll never know, right? But again, I think that's that. I'm just going to end this here. Put this up, and we'll see, and I'll be back to YIIK in about a week. But with that, don't have anything else to say. So yep, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.